Hey guys, it's Vulture Culture, and this is the KAWAI K5000S Advanced Additive Synthesizer from 1997. So this is the greatest additive hardware synth of all time, self-proclaimed by KAWAI, the makers of the K5, which was the additive synth that was from the 80s. We've done the K1 and the K3 on this channel. I haven't had my hands on a K5 yet. But what's interesting about additive synthesis as compared to every other type of synthesis is instead of thinking of things in terms of starting with a waveform and subtracting frequencies with a filter, additive synthesis is about creating timbres by building up the individual harmonics, which are essentially just little sine waves. And so this synth has an incredible range of sounds that it can do, far beyond what any analog synth could do. And we'll get into some more of it. Hey, Dub Station, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. It gets really intimidating really fast. It is by far the most advanced synthesizer I have in this room, and for that reason, I'm not even going to pretend like I understand it. It is very deep. I know we have some people in the chat who probably understand it better than I do, so hopefully they can help us get through this, but here's how this thing sounds. We'll go through some presets real quick. This preset really kind of gives you a little bit of that sound of additive, where you can hear these sine waves coming in and out at different harmonics, which are sort of like notes above a root note. So I think the harmonic series is something like this, something like where you're adding notes but quieter than the fundamental to create a tone, and so you can bring those in and out. You can have 128 different harmonics per oscillator in this, and I believe you can have 6 oscillators to a patch, which totals up to each of those oscillators, all 128 harmonics. Well, guess what? Each one of those has their own amplitude envelope. So that equals out to being over 1,000 parameters per patch. That's 32 voices of polyphony of 1,000 parameters per patch. The scope of this synthesizer is beyond, I think, any other hardware synthesizer on the planet to this day. Even though this synthesizer was discontinued in 1999, this is by far the most, what's the word I'm looking for? Like the highest reaching, the most optimistic synth I've ever seen. So really, really cool. Let's see, what else is going on? It's not too smoky, Autumn, I would not say. UJAM Drive is free. I'm not sure what that is. Or the AAS Sound Pack. Let me know what that is. A little bit of Angelo Badalamenti sounds. Of course, I always love the master from the David Lynch movies. Let's check out a couple more. Fuck that. Here's a good one. Very deep. Bring the volume down a little. So you can already hear that we're getting sounds that are way beyond what anybody else is doing in the room, right? And one of the things that you can do with additive synthesis is called additive resynthesis. What additive resynthesis is actually taking a wave file or an audio file recording, and this synthesizer can take that and recreate that wave file harmonic by harmonic using sine waves, so that it can effectively sort of, if you think about a wavetable synth, where it allows you to morph from one wave to another. Well, now imagine this thing doing that with harmonic content profiles at a very rapid rate. essentially re-synthesizing an organic sound. And so when I hear this, I imagine there could be some of that going on, almost like some sort of out-of-tune viola sort of thing. Oh wait, let's go back and hear that again. Yes, I should have smoked the glass ahead of time. I didn't even really think about it. So cheers, Autumn, to smoking the glass. That meth pipe. Yes, it does have depth to it in an interesting way. Additive synthesis has a sort of sound that's similar to FM synthesis. Let's check out some more of it. Yeah, so one of the things that analog synths have difficult doing is not being warm and gooey and magical sounding, because you're starting with an already sort of fat waveform sound and then you're removing high end. So if you think about it, you're always going to end up with sort of a darker, warmer sound. What FM synths were able to do, which started with Yamaha DX7 in 1983, is create sounds that had a lot of high end and a lot of low end. That wasn't possible yet. And because additive synthesis can sound the same way, because if you imagine a series of partials sort of sloping down from the big fundamental down to the highest frequencies, well, you can scoop the middle of that, right? And then so you'll have like a really high sound, but also a lot of depth to it. So you can get these sounds that are really 3D, I guess I would say. But you, of course, can end up with these very useful sort of bass sounds, right? Like... It has a very digital filter, which I think is what we're listening to here. The filter for me is one of those interesting things about 90s filters, digital filters. You either love them or you hate them. It's a certain kind of sound. It doesn't really lend itself to certain things. Like for me, analog filter, 303 bass all day long. Modern digital stuff does it great, maybe not so great for this era. But this is the type of shit that you can't get with just traditional synthesis. And you could use, I mean, it doesn't sound that different than the JD800, SY77, or what are some of the other great PCMs, the Corgam 1 synthesizer, but those are samples that they were using. What's amazing about this synth is it does have PCM samples, but what you're hearing are additive synths. So it's like you really have control over every single partial that's coming in and out of a sound, versus like on the Roland D50, you have a sample, you play the sample, you're stuck with the sample. You know, it's like it sounds that way. The complexity, right? I mean, you can hear these different layers doing different things. You're just, it's something else. Like, it's hard to compare this synth in any sort of way to anything else we've had on this. And yes, you can, this synth is fully velocity equipped, aftertouch equipped. And this is a good moment to just mention this. I don't talk about build quality all that much on this channel because some of my favorite synths don't have the best build quality, the DW8000. And so I usually only talk about build quality when it's really excellent or very, like, it's starting to affect using the synth. So This synth is in the former category. This is the most premium synth I think I have. I love the JD800, but as far as like the feel of every single knob, every button, every like key, like people talk about this key bed being the greatest key bed of all time. I really love a couple of synths in the room, but I have to agree that this one just feels great. Everything, this pitch wheel is amazing. Like everything about it feels 100% like you have a premium product. So it's clear that KAWAI, you know, we've seen the K3, which was built like a tank, the K1, which is not good, but not built like a tank. This one, you can tell that it was made by a team of people who loved what KAWAI was doing with synthesis, and it has this sort of character to it that is unique and just, it was built with love, and you have to admire that even if you're too stupid to understand it. So let's see here what some people are saying. Rudimentary understanding of FMs where I'm at. Have I messed around with the additive waveforms on the DSS-1 yet? I have not, Dubstation, nor have I with the K3. So the K3 can actually technically do additive stuff as well. It does it in a more rudimentary way, like allowing you to draw a waveform, which I actually don't know if this synth can or cannot do. It doesn't. I'm still a beginner with the synth, so don't worry, there's more than enough content just at the very beginning of this synth, even though I've had it for a couple of years now. Let's see. Yes, Autumn, that's the way to do it. Additive's good for strings, I think. There's absolutely some great string patches in here. Hey, Patrick, welcome to the stream. How's it going, my friend? Let's go ahead. The Deep. Kind of almost like an organy and ensemble type sound in there. Patch is called Tune In. Oh, wow. This is cool. This is like a cyberpunk Rhodes piano sound. Oh, I got to remember this one. This one's so good. It's like reverse reverb or something in there. You can hear how velocity sensitive this synth can be because you can have the velocity be controlling the different harmonics and partials. It gets out of control really quick. Really cool. Yeah, just wow, right? And you know, there's something about the character of additive synthesis. So a lot of the times you can run these patches either in 64 partial or 128 partial modes. And so the way to think about this is 64 partials is not quite enough to reach like the maximum of human hearing. So there's a way in which it almost sounds like band limited audio or almost like an old MP3. When it's in that mode, I suspect this might be in that mode. Not all the time, right? So if you're playing up high, 64 harmonics as they stack up will go above the range of human hearing. But sometimes you need more than that, and so you can put it into 128 harmonic mode, but then I think you have the polyphony or something like that. That would make sense, right? But it's just a good example. I felt that patch gives you sort of a character to additive that you don't hear with FM. So FM, you can go like shriekingly high because you're distorting waveforms by effectively turning one operator into an LFO for the other and then speeding that up to the point that it creates distortion. This is a completely different, honestly more elegant way to create sounds, but also much more complicated. And so I do think FM and additive sort of sound like sister versions of creating sounds. It's really interesting. Additive has a bright musical quality that lends itself well to crystalline leads, glassy pads, and techno bass lines. I agree with that, Aquatic. Yes, the synths are rolling. Tony, welcome to the stream. Never saw that one. I worked for KAWAI in the 80s and owned some of their synths. I even edited one of the manuals for the K4, I think. That is so cool, Tony. Welcome to the stream. I really want to get my hands on a K4. That's kind of like the next KAWAI synth that I want to mess around with. You were working for KAWAI in what I consider to be the golden era. This synth is amazing, but for me, it is so complicated. It sort of suffers from that workstation thing that the 90s synths had, which is, although this is you can think of it as like sort of the second version of this. The first was the KAWAI K5000W synthesizer from 96, and that was 32 part multi-timbral, I believe, and it was more of like an M1 workstation. This one, they added these different controls. So depending, you can see on this little chart here, I don't know how well you guys can see it, but I can see what these user controls do, and they sort of work like macros do in Native Instruments plugins. But anyways, I mean to say, Tony, really cool to have you here, and you worked for KAWAI in what I consider to be the time the KAWAI was shining. So welcome. So you can hear the use of the formant filter in here. So this is also, additive synthesis is great for doing formants. Formants are the way that the human voice synthesizes speech. So like is a different set of harmonics than E. Scientists have gone through and figured out what those harmonics are, and then you can recreate them with a filter. So let's see if there's a way that we can actually change. I see growl and pitch as being a couple of options here. I don't really know what those other options do. All right, moving on to Takana. Yeah, definitely kind of actually has a bit of that K4 digital PCM sound. Yes, let's see here. They had some interesting ideas and really wanted to compete against Yamaha, Roland, and Korg. And like, I love KAWAI synths. At some point, I hope to own them all. But I think I've always kind of had a love for underdog synths. It's why I like Korg a lot too, because they would take what was going on in the market and then try to slide price point, like kind of just a little bit under what everybody else was doing, but by being clever. So like Korg inventing a new way to tune synths to be able to create the Poly 6. KAWAI did that by implementing the sort of wavetable synthesis that was going on with like the DW8000, but using the SSM filters from a Prophet 5, right? Like that's a really cool idea that no one else was doing at the time. So yeah, definitely into it. Question, do you use a patch bay or just plugging in what you're using? I have a lot of keyboards. Yes, if I had to do it all again, I probably would use a patch bay. Let's play something else here real quick. Warm bass. You can get kind of boring sounds too, right? Like this is just a regular ass bass sound. It has a certain character to it though, compared to some of like an analog synth, right? You can get sort of different types of sounds out of it for sure. But the way I am working on this is I have a, what is this? A RME Digiface USB 32 in, 32 out audio interface. Sorry, it took me a second. Brain had a stroke for a moment there. Need to intoxicate. It was probably the DTs kicking in. Hey, cheers, guys. Can I get some Scum cheers in the chat real quick, by the way? Now, that on its own will not get the sound in. You actually need preamps for it. So I've got two Behringer 88 2800s, I think, a Focusrite Scarlett 24, and then the Octopre preamp. But if I had to do it all over again, I would just use the Behringer stuff. Sounds just as good. No complaints. So that's how I do it. By the way, Spaceman, totally overkill setup. Also, actually, I think if I was going to do it all over, I want to say Mackie now makes, like when I started doing this, it wasn't around, but now Mackie makes a mixer that's 32 in, 32 out. And that would be awesome because you'd get that. I love the sound of Mackie equipment. I've always used Mackie PA systems and stuff like that. So you'd have all of that Mackie mixing power on the way into your computer, and it would be a 32 in, 32 out, like awesomeness. So, you know, that's a thing. Scientists are amazing. I agree. I had a K5M and a K1M back then. Yeah, so I have the K1 just off camera here. We had that on last stream, actually running into Roland SH2, the external input. It was an idea by 40 Thieves, who hangs out in the channel. Really cool idea, an amazing synth. The K1, one of my favorite synthesizers from the 80s. It's the best value, sort of. I prefer the sound of that synth to a D50 because it really has that gritty, like lo-fi thing. The D50 just sounds so good. It's crazy. I mean, it's kind of like, what are you looking for? Anonymous with the $33.33 donation. Thank you so much. Let me run over here real quick and just see if there's a donation comment. Yo, that was so fucking awesome. Whoever that was, thank you so much for your donation. You must have a really huge cock. I appreciate you. Let's see if this turns on. Running over to the computer. Nope, no message. Just being sweet and awesome. So thank you so much for your donation. That's the shit. Let's see what else we have here. Dubstation Zero says, they're an Ensoniq fanboy. Fuck yeah, you are. You've got a lot of Ensoniqs, and that shit sounds nice. I love Ensoniq as well. For me, the Ensoniq KAWAI, I guess maybe part of it's the nostalgia of the companies that went out of business. Obviously, KAWAI's not out of business, but it doesn't make sense anymore. Definitely a thing. Used to write for Transonic Hacker. I don't know what that is, Tony. 12-year-old version of me wanted a wave station. They were still fairly expensive. The great thing about the wave station is you can get them very cheap nowadays. They're very good synths. I love them. You're not going to program them, but they're really cool. So let's see. We got a PWM bass sound here. Now, we can control the cutoff here, so let's see if we can do that. So you do have a filter, and it's got a pretty good amount of growl. We can control the resonance here. Let's see what it's like with a lot of resonance. Interesting, not that much. The resonance on this thing can really scream, so I wonder if that's being modified by something or some way the additive engine's like pulling out that resonance. Let's see. I'm still trying to understand how the K3 happens. Such an epic poly. I agree, Machina. Andrew worked for New England Digital and Roland. Well, Tony, welcome to the channel. I am a neophyte when it comes to this stuff, but I love all of that kind of gear from that era. So this is probably a fun place. Here's some brain fog. He uses Mackie mixers. That's really cool. Definitely have to check them out. Total Norwegian black metal synth. I agree with that. It was a InSonic specific magazine. I would love to check that out sometime because I love InSonic and what a cool thing. I'm really excited about this patch. Can I get some Scum lemons in the chat? This patch is called Lemon. And it's beautiful. Very cute little sound there. Polar. I love anything that suggests iciness from the 90s. It's like a kind of a honky-tonk piano type thing. You can really hear that sort of FM character when you hit the keys hard. So like when you play quietly, if I were to play, you get like a really dark sort of Angelo Badalamenti sound, but I can spank them. And that's like the advantage of actual synthesis as opposed to PCM samples, is that you can control that stuff, velocity, so much more. Really cool patch. We're going to hear a lot of these. Hitaglyph? Very 90s. There are archives of Transonic Hacker on the internet. I'll do a search. Absolutely. I love the Scum lemons in the chat. That's awesome. InSonic Transwaves were nice, but I have an MR rack and sold a Fizmo. Did not like them much. The Fizmo is my missing. That is my my white whale digital synth from the 90s. I would say, what would it be? The Korg Wave Station, released in 1991. The Roland JD800, released in 1991. Sorry, the Wave Station was 90. K5000S from 96, or well, 97, the S version. And the InSonic Fizmo would be the four greatest digital synths from the 90s. I think pretty much uncontested. I can't think of another synth from the 90s that was better than those guys. So I've always wanted a Fizmo. They sell for like $5,000. They're not great. Got a lot of problems, so it's hard to fork over $5,000 when all of the rest of these synths are sub 2,000. But man, it's a cool synth. I wish I had one for sure. Have a Wave Station EX, which I have right over there. Would what? Let's move on. Some of these patches, I will say, are a little underwhelming, and I saw that in a Sound on Sound review from the era, that they didn't feel that the patches were quite as explosive. I mean, you have to think like the JD800's coming out with the Iceman patch and the Voodoo People wailing guitar patch, the Wave Station, every patch is amazing. And these patches are more bread and butter. They're really cool, but you can hear how at a time where this type of synthesis was not popular, why maybe they went bankrupt. Really interesting. Harikami. Wow, you can get these like crazy high. Sometimes the cutoff is only routed to one layer, or maybe more than one, but only not every layer, which is a thing that's frustrating. I kind of wish that the cutoff worked almost maybe more like a master cutoff, or if there's a quick way to control that, there may very well be a way to assign that. But I don't know it off the top of my head. So, yes. You sold your Fismo for $340. Oh my God. Yeah. Spaceman on Earth, not trying to, ruin your post-Thanksgiving, holiday spirit. But yes, they sell for like $4,000 to $5,000 nowadays. They sell for that because they're rare. There's very few made. Yes. Oh my God. So sorry. Let's see. Dubstation's got an ESQ1, a Mirage. The ESQ1, guys, is the SQ80's original version. EPS Classic, which is their piano version. The SPM1, which I don't know, and a TS12, which is one of their most famous samplers. Really digging the TS. At some point, I may get more in Sonics, but I'm kind of happy with the SQ80 Mirage combo. Those would definitely be the most classic synths they put out. Yes, $3,500 to $4,000 for a Fismo. Yeah, they're really expensive, and they've got major issues, right? Not so much with the build quality, but the software was never finished, which is a problem with a digital synth, right? Yeah, it's insane. Very, very unicorn. What was it? Was there a unicorn Frappuccino? Because that's the color scheme of the Fismo. Let's move on. Gas leak. Down here, you get that really great graininess, that sort of in Sonic Mirage sound. Almost like Mortal Kombat-y type of a thing. So the K5000S is interesting because it has an entire additive synth engine, but it also has a lot of PCM samples. So it kind of is like a D50 in the sense that you can actually create layers with PCM in there, because sometimes, like what the Roland engineers discovered, the hardest part of a sound to synthesize is the attack, the very beginning of the sound. And so having those samples in here, I'm suspecting that what we're hearing here is a sample. And the reason is because up here, you can hear it sounds pretty good. Right? But when we play it 2 octaves lower, if you pay attention to that attack, it'll be both slower, and you can hear the Nyquist frequency coming in. It's really grainy and great, but that's the sound of a sample when it's stretched too low. So that's a giveaway that there's some sampling going on in there. Apparently you can't detune on an additive synth. Is that true? So that would be true on something like perhaps a additive synth that only has one layer. Because when you think about it, that would be the case. Because you're just dealing with one tone, right? But this thing has 6 tones, and I'm pretty sure you can detune them. And not just that, there's a pitch envelope on the harmonics. So I want you to think about that for a second. So normally you think about a pitch envelope as affecting the entire synth. So you can think about that like with the pitch bend, right? You can, bend the whole oscillator up or down. Right? But now imagine you've got 128 different sine waves making up that sound, and then each one of those can be moving in pitch. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah, so the detuning possibilities are actually infinitely greater on something like the KAWAI K5000S. When KAWAI made this synth, they were aiming at making the end-all be-all of additive synths, and I think they did it as far as the engine is concerned. The problem is programming it again starts to feel kind of like a wave station, but we do have these controls here so we can actually control stuff. So like for instance, let's try this one with harmonic low. So we can actually control the low harmonics with this knob. So you can actually control that in. Same thing with the high harmonics. You're really getting the click more. If I bring that all the way out, you don't really hear too much, but right? You can control a lot of that stuff from up here. So they did their best, but you know, I mean, what would you do? Could you have 128 sliders on the synth? I don't know. I mean, no one's brave enough to do that. But that's a thing that probably 12-bit as well. I'm not sure. I want to say you would probably know, but isn't the K4 12-bit? Something like that? The K4 is definitely better than the K1, which was 8-bit. I think the K4 might have even have been 16, although the Wave Station I think was 12-bit, so... But by the time we get to 1997, we should be getting some decent samples, right? Memory had come down quite dramatically. Yes, and the thing is that because you have 6 oscillators per voice with this thing, with a total of 32 voices of polyphony, over 1,000 parameters per patch, that's a thing that is happening that is really intense. So here's one called Smasher. Really cool. It's interesting how sometimes you like get notes to do different things, like so. I don't know what's going on in there, some sort of control over that stuff. Let's go ahead and try Nemesis. Wow, that's loud. That's that 4-man filter. Now I wonder if we move the cutoff, if we'll get different vowel sounds. Oh, interesting. We can take out the growl. We kind of get this like little lead electric piano type sound. We can control the harmonics high and odd. Control the LFO speed on that. Yeah, so you have control here, but just not, you know, like when I think about trying to make a patch, I have not been able to find a single video on YouTube of someone making a patch on the K5000S. I have the manual. I started reading it. It's really deep. I, at some point, want to get good enough with the synth that I can make my own sounds with it, but it's intimidating, man. Like, it's no joke. Yes, the TS is sort of the pre-Fismo. They have those trans waves. I don't know the difference between trans waves and hyperwaves. Yeah, and they finished it. Yeah, that's the advantage of the TS12, is that it's like actually done, you know. And Sonic unfortunately went out of business. Sonic Bites, welcome to the stream. Yes, the soundscapes is what this thing's good at. I mean, we really are getting wave station levels of complexity out of this thing. I'm so happy that we got that that nice soundscape right when you said that, Sonic. Moving right along. The bassline sounds to me are just totally boring. I love these. where we've got this like glitchy arpeggio thing that's in here. Oh, this one's so good. This is patch 45 Chemi. I need to remember this one. This is so cool. Actually, almost sounds like physical modeling synthesis to me. Very velocity responsive too, by the way. Really, really cool sound. I love that shit. I don't know what's going on with that, but it's great. A+. Thank you very much, KAWAI. This one's called Nilfisk. Oh, this one's cool. Nice lead sound. This one's really good, too. I love that you can control, like on these ones where you've got a single sort of filter going on, it's great because you can control that sound. And something interesting going on with the amplitude. Or some sort of dual fucking filter thing going on. Really, really cool. Transwaves like wavetables. Hyperwaves are like wave sequences. Thank you for the help, Dubstation. Yes, and you can use an arpeggio or arpeggiator on this. So let's go ahead and move on to something that maybe could do that. Vibey. Let's not use that one. Attila. Moving right along. Bass. I just don't think this thing excels at bass. Although it does have a certain kind of sound that's different than every other bass synth I've heard. Wow, that's loud. That's giving me almost the overbright JD800 thing. Drawback. That's that 4-man filter again. We'll just keep moving until we get one that we can use the arpeggiator on. Microvox. Really cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and try and see if we can turn the arpeggiator on. What do I need to do? Hit that button, maybe? There we go. All right, so we can control that speed, right? We have all these different modes, like random here. And different modes. Oh, so we could use hold and re-trigger here. See? Oh, yeah, sort of like trance-gatey type stuff. chord gate. Really weird stuff you could get out of this. Yeah, really cool. It's deeper than most arpeggiators you're going to find on a synthesizer. This one's called Cumos. You get that extreme resonance, which for me is not my favorite on this because I just don't think the digital filter is as good as like the analog stuff was at the time, unfortunately. Here we go. Here's a nice big pad thing for sonic, so we can try maybe this chord. Oh, that's beautiful. Oh, God. Let's see if I got this. Everything's fine. Whoa. This pad's gorgeous. Really cool. So yeah, talk about a really great, I mean, just immediately you turn that arpeggiator on, it's like, oh my God, you get just lost in a sound all day. You know, what a beautiful sound. What I love about it, so there's obviously some panning going on. You can get that sort of K4-esque digital breathy type sound, but you have to actually kind of find it by going in and adjusting the cutoff. Really cool patch. Yeah, add some granular on here. Oh my God. It really does sound nice, doesn't it, Spaceman? I think, yeah. I had a JD800 on loan from Roland circa 90-91. That's amazing. The Pulse, Yamaha CS1, the Korg N36. I don't know much about that. The Alesis QS6, that era. I'm a little, I don't know as much about those synths. But yeah, it's really cool to have you here. I hope to at some point have a K4 on hand and maybe you can go through it with me a little bit more. We'll have to do that at some point. This one's called Tronica. Interesting, there's no arpeggiator on that. Some sort of... I mean, to me, that's like the essence of what you're getting out of an additive synthesizer, right? Like it's that sound that is sort of glassy and, you know, just totally like, you wouldn't describe it as warm, right? Swirling. I always think of those swirling sort of sounds that you can get. Let's keep going here. Trolldom. I'd also just like to point out, if you guys have been watching Scum Night, you know that we just covered the JP8000 and the JD800. JD800, pretty cool synth. JP8000, pretty cool synth. But, you know, this synth sounds like it's 10 years ahead of these. Whereas the K5000S and the JP8000 came out the same year. You know, like, and the difference between what these synths can sound like. Really just like these incredible sort of watery textures that are hard to get from any other type of synth. I'm loving these like cyberpunk sort of Japanese sorts of sounds. Yeah, just ridiculous. So let's try the arpeggiator on this for the fuck of it. Oh yeah, we're getting cyberpunk. Sounds really good down there. I could just do that all day. This is patch 59 chemically. Something like that. Oh my god. So cool. Yes. So absolutely. I mean, really it's more fair to compare the JD800 with the K5000S than it is the JP8000 and the K5000S, because they were just trying to kind of go back to old school. And as far as like, okay, which of these two synths sounds better? Well, this one sounds more complicated, for sure. But programming it, I actually found the JP8000 a lot of fun to program. I just wish it was... There's some like implementation issues with it that I don't love. Like the range on some of these sliders, like stuff that you wouldn't find on a modern synth from like sequential, for instance. Like, you know, it would all feel right and feel good. But if you like that trance sound, there really isn't anything better than the JP8000. But this one is much more unique. Terramodu. get these like crazy harmonically rich things. Really cool, really great sorts of sounds. My issue with this synthesizer is, at what point do I start treating this like the Proteus, where I'm just pulling up patches and playing them? You know what I mean? Like, and unfortunately, the way you can interact with these 16 knobs over here is not as like given me, where I'm going to just like, some patches, totally, the cutoff is like doing what I want it to. But on some patches, I'm like, well, the cutoff's only affecting one layer, right? It's one of those things. Hard to say. I love the JD800 too, Tony. Interesting that these sounds were created 25 years ago, yet they sound futuristic even today in 2022, 2023. I agree, Vulture Mom. It is crazy. I mean, to me, there's been a few times when I've touched the synth, I'm like, this sounds like Ghost in the Shell, you know, Cyberpunk 2077 or whatever the game was, like super modern neon shit, you know? Whereas a lot of the rest of this stuff, you can definitely hear that sort of 70s, 80s thing. I mean, this thing sounds as cyberpunk as it gets. And by the way, I should mention this while I'm playing this next patch. Patch 61 skeleton. If this synth might actually ring familiar to you, so if any of you guys are Logic users, Alchemy by Camel Audio, which is now just built into Logic, all of your Apple computers have it, is actually based off of a synthesizer made by Camel Audio called Chameleon 5000, which gives away the fact that it was actually a software sort of emulation of the K5000S. And Jackie and I use that all over the Dominion Screams record. We love Camel Audio's Alchemy, and the only reason I don't use it today, and I ended up going to Omnisphere, was because it went to being Logic only, which was a shame. But it started actually as a recreation of the K5000, and then they added all of the virtual analog stuff, which is an interesting little tidbit there. Death by Media, welcome to the stream. Is the knobby section more for programming or live tweaks? I would say for live tweaks. So we can check out the cutoff here. So you can use it for that sort of a thing. We could also control the harmonics, right? Interesting as you get those harmonics to scream into the filter there. It's pretty cool. You could tweak stuff. I don't really feel like it's useful for the programming. I think when you're doing that, you're sort of stuck doing this sort of like tapping knobs and moving the thing, which is where, at some point I might become brilliant and be able to design my own additive synthesizer and try to come up with a layout better than KAWAI did. But until that time, this is the greatest hardware additive synth of all time. The problem with additive synthesis is that it's so complicated. It really is probably better in software, because you can do things like have menus and stuff like that. When you have like a little LCD display, it just becomes difficult. Although I do have to say, this is a great display. Looks great. Still backlit after 25 years. So very cool. I'd like you to bypass reverb the effects and run through Big Sky. Yes. So I believe there is a way that you can just turn the effects off. And I wish I knew how to do it quickly. It's not an easy to find button, which you could say is a flaw of this synth. But yes, you could run through Big Sky. And honestly, you could run through Big Sky even with the effects on. This isn't like a super reverby synth the way the Roland D50 is, or some of the other synths of that era. SoundQuest has a KAWAI K5000 librarian and editor. Well, I might have to check that out at some point and just actually get the iPad over here and try messing around with that. That might be a fun way to try to interact with the synth, especially if it allows you to do things like even something as simple as just being able to draw the harmonic series in by running your finger across would be wonderful. Played a game called Stray recently, and some of the sounds from this remind me of that. Think Cyberpunk, but you play as a cat. Yes, I saw that. I had a lot of requests to play it on the channel, but obviously we've gone very heavy into synths recently, so I'm not playing too many games, but it looked like a pretty good one. Omnisphere is awesome. Eric is a good friend. I know him from Roland. Yeah, Eric is a legend. The more I get into vintage synths, the more I realize that man's influence on what has happened with music is like, you can't overstate it. All the way back to the D50, the Hoover sound from the Alpha Juno, the soundtrack patch from the JX8P, the Voodoo People patch, the Wailing Guitar patch from the JD800, and a million other patches. What else? I mean, Fantasia, all over the Star Trek Next Gen soundtrack. I mean, it's insane. And then, of course, Omnisphere is like used in every major motion picture. So I really love Omnisphere so much. And, you know, even though I love going back in time and checking out where these pieces of history were at the time, obviously Omnisphere's the coolest and my favorite synth of all time. Let's see. So it updates in real time, unlike a lot of the synths of its time. Yeah, so there are some synths in this room, like the SQ80, the Roland the Roland D50, what else? The DSS-1, where updates, you have to press a new key for it to update. But no, the K5000S is not like that, so that's cool. You really could use it for tweaking, it's just not going to give you the sound design that you might want. Jackie Mofucking Daggers, how's it going? No, you were not late. You came right on time, just like a wizard does. Real quick, guys, what do you guys think? Should I keep this synth or should I sell it? I want to know in the chat real quick. Can you put some Scum keep or some Scum sell in here? Wow, you can get really breathy with this one, right? Well, it's crazy. You can get like almost like a E-piano if you play quietly. And then if you want to spank it. We were just talking about Chameleon 5000, which became Camel Audio's Alchemy, and both Jackie and I love that synthesizer very much. The JX8P soundtrack, absolutely. Melda Sound Factory has a great additive synthesis engine, among other things. I didn't know about that. How's it going, everybody? Roger Lynn came over to my studio to peep it. That's crazy. You would keep it. How often do I play it? Not very often, unfortunately. Yes, it does need an editor. So, like, if I could program even one sound on this, like a really crazy additive pad, it would be worth keeping, right? Yes. So much potential here. It's not my type of sounds. I love Aquatic going in with the heterodox opinion. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. I always love to hear what your guys' honest opinion is, because my goal with collecting these synths is not to collect them, but actually to use them. So one of the things is that the moment I can't hook it into the computer, it might not be obvious, but every single one of these synths, we could turn them all on and play them all at once. The moment I can't do that, I don't want it, because I want people to be able to use these incredible instruments. And my synths are up for sale on Reverb if you want one of them. That's dark. Almost kind of could get into some Akira Yamaoka type sounds. I'd be curious, Jackie Daggers, what do you think? Do you think this sounds like Camel Audio Alchemy? This is kind of like velocity sensitive sort of sound, you know? It's kind of interesting. When this thing goes more virtual analog, I get bored quickly. See, I need that shit. Give me some of that shit, okay? We're getting dark. Very smooth sound to it, for sure. Pinor. Nice little 4-man sound. Kenzo. This is the shit that I love right here. This motherfucking shit. I'm applying some attack to the filter. again, once you kick on that arpeggiator, it's like shit just gets out of control, right? Like you just go down a fucking journey into a completely different space. And that, to answer the question, I mean, you can get some really cool real-time parameter, you know, stuff that kind of does, like on that patch where it was all kind of like lined up nicely, it really gave it kind of a sort of a sound that was fun to jam on. You know, really cool stuff. I just kind of wish it had like 14 times more knobs. You know what I mean? Like just like it was laid out with knobs so you could really understand what's going on. This addition of 16 knobs, which they added for this version, which came out the second year this synth was out, was definitely to give it that real-time feel. But as far as programming, it's still pretty mysterious to me. Let's see here. Definitely has Alchemy vibes. Let's see. Autumn, have a wonderful night. I love you. VGA guy, welcome to the stream. Never knew about the synth before. Not super keen on how it sounds myself, but I can see it can get breathy. Wasn't expecting that. Yeah, I can definitely go there. Let's see what else is going on. Might be worth keeping, but I think it's almost like it's meant for scoring rather than straight up music. Yes, scoring aquatic. Yes, this is a nightmare to program. It's one of them. Although I shouldn't say that. I haven't actually tried to program it, so it might not be as bad as I think. Go ahead and keep moving on. Kabelon. That VA stuff's just not doing it for me. Wow, that's some real sci-fi shit. Nice little organ sound, you know. Organica. Don't care. Rev China. Love these more Asian-inspired ones. Limborg. Definitely going in that JP8000 trancey sort of sound. Whoa, some sort of weird mod stuff down there. Let's see. Melanchol. Here we go, a little string action. This is one of those things, though, with like a additive synth where for me it can get real harsh real quick because there's always that tendency to kind of bump up those high frequencies and then you lose that organic character to them. So again, let's try that same kind of chord, but let's try turning the harmonics down. Like I really didn't do anything. Let's try bringing the cutoff down. It's that digital filter. So that's the thing that's bothering me is this digital filter. The resonance is just not my favorite. Let's turn that all the way down and the cutoff all the way down and see what we get. Oh, God. Yeah, that is fucking painful. Let's just fucking forget that patch ever existed. Hey, this isn't bad. Nice warm E-piano sound. Actually does E-piano stuff pretty well, but maybe that makes sense because it's a sister synthesis to FM. I don't know. Compared to the U20, it's got to be a dream. Yes. So if I had to pick only the K5000S and the U20, of course it would be this because there's at least a hope of making a sound with it. And it does have a very unique sound. Thanks for the warm welcome. I've been binging your Ensoniq Mirage video while I attempt to fix mine. Saw a link to the stream and thought I'd check it out. That's awesome. So the Ensoniq Mirage is a really cool synth. I need to get to know it better and maybe sample my own stuff into it. Try that out because it definitely has a certain sound, but I am certainly no master of it. And when it comes to actually programming it, again, the biggest reason the Mirage for me is like, I don't know if I'm going to keep it, is because I like to program synth sounds. And the Ensoniq SQ80 does an amazing job of that. The Mirage, it's like trying to get in there and control that. I almost think I need to get a programmer like I have for the SQ80 to be able to program that, but we'll have to see. I was going to change my answer to cell. Like, it's cool, but if you can't really go deep and program it to the depth that you expect from your synth, then it's a sound library and very alchemy. I agree with that it is a very alchemy sound library in a sense. It does have that. Not a lot of additive synths out there, but it's good, but for good reason apparently. Yeah, of course, Death by Media. It is just a very hard thing to come up with a additive synth that sounds that's easy to interact with. No one's done it for a reason. It's been 25 fucking years, and no one's even tried. I mean, think about that for a second. Like, no one's fucking tried in 25 years because this was KAWAI. Like, KAWAI went out of fucking business over this shit. It's cool. I like the ones where you can hear that the harmonics are going all the way up past hearing. I don't like the ones where you're maybe only getting those 64 harmonics instead of 128 because you can hear that it sort of just cuts off at a certain point. Like, those ones really deep but also retains that high end, you know? There is this thing, too, about it, kind of going to what Aquatic was saying earlier, which is additive, because a lot of the times you end up with something like one oscillator. It doesn't have that lushness that we associate with, you know, modern analog warm synthesis. So this is a good one where, because the motion's not really there, other than maybe like a vibrato LFO, it starts to get that sort of like cold, like kind of boring robotic thing. So when I hold a chord down, I'll put my foot in my mouth and admit that I didn't realize that the velocity was controlling the second layer that opened up a pad that made it gorgeous. Pulse. Don't care about that. Gleamer. See, this is like the sort of K4 type sound that I love. Is gorgeous. You know, do you need additive to get it though when the KAWAI K4 exists, right? And if you're just going to use it as a, you know, preset bank, right? I think the K4 sounds really good. The K1 sounds pretty good. You know, and this thing probably costs approximately 5 times the cost of a KAWAI K1, maybe 4 times, something like that. So, Gleam in the Cube. Welcome, 40 Thieves. Welcome to the stream. How's it going? Good to see you. Harvey. So when you play with less velocity, you get the big wah. But when you play hard, you get not that. Interesting. Mariah? Very very distorted, actually. I was looking over to see if I was clipping, but I was not. It was just, that's the sound. Oh my god, I'm obsessed with the sound. Wow, just like, how did they make that, you know? And that's, again, kind of the intimidating thing about the synth is like, yeah, that sounds gorgeous. I don't know. Like, oh my god, yeah. It's cool, but that space could be better used. I love the velocity controls, but it's just not enough. I love the hot takes, Jackie. So let's see, is there anything I missed about this? This synth only existed for a couple of years, so it was started being manufactured in 97. By 99, they'd already stopped making them, but that was the official end, but they had already stopped making it in certain regions. Octavia? Yeah, it's just some really boring presets mixed in with some really great ones. Anything that says ice in it, this is ice dust. Kind of like JP8000, halfway between the JP8000 and the JD800. Sphinx. Tysco. Oh, that's a kind of a cute little nod. So for those of you guys who don't know, KAWAI bought Tysco, I think in the 70s, and they were a manufacturer of synthesizers, and that's what ended up becoming the synth division of KAWAI. So kind of maybe a nod to them. Maybe because it's an organ and they did organs. Big Red. Crying out for arpeggiator. That arpeggiator just could, or sorry, the resonance on that digital filter can just shriek. One of those synths you just got to get a bunch of Synth-X patches off the internet for. Been looking for a Tysco bass guitar. They're pretty sought after. Yeah, so they made a bunch of different instruments, actually. Planet here. Santa. I don't know why they called this pad Santa, but I appreciate them. Kind of like, this is your additive pad sound, right? If you just wanted that, here it is. Yeah, it's that thing. You know, swirly additive synth pad. That's what that sounds like. That's what everybody thinks about when they think additive synth. Blow away. What's crazy to me is, like, why would you include a sound like this that sounds like the Roland D50, but not as good as a synth from 10 years before. I guess it's more interesting because you get some sort of velocity switching, but I'm really surprised by that. Blur pad. Yes, sir. Morpholog. That has that alchemy sound, doesn't it? Very unique sort of sound. Heater? Elastorg. Oh, interesting. Let's try this with the arpeggiator. Fuck it, right? We only live once. Try some cutoff. Resonance. I hate the resonance on this synth. Good example of how I wish the cutoff was controlling everything, or at least interacting with the patch. Like, even if it had cutoff offsets like Omnisphere does, like, wouldn't that be cool? Instead of only controlling one layer. It's controlling that, like, square wave thing in the background. Didn't go as well as I was hoping. Yeah. So I love my K5000S. Michael Mays, welcome to the stream, but it was designed to break your heart. Why do you say that, Michael? I'd be curious. So the K5 was sort of the original K5000S, and I'd be interested to compare the two back to back. And not just that, but also think about, like, some part of me wonders, considering how much I love the sound of the K1 and the K4 and the K3, if I would like the K5 better than this, because if I'm only going to play it as presets, then maybe I want just the kind of grittier, older, more digital cousin of it. I don't know. What do you think, Michael? Death by Media says, super advanced synthesis method that no one has been able to scale down to a giggable instrument, and it sounds like a Fairlight CMI 3 to my ears. Yes, I agree. The amount of menu diving, yes. One big issue I have with the synth is Boreal, like Borealis, right? It's kind of got that Iceman sound from the Roland JD800, but it doesn't sound as good, right? It's cool they did it, presumably without any samples, but, like, does that justify this synth on its own? I don't know. This one's called Drum and Bass. Tech Kit? Oh, right. Of course you have drums on this, too. Yeah, I hate that. Oh, and we finally moved to some user patch availability, and then we have some stuff in the D library. I don't know why it's D and A. I'll just run through some of these quickly, but these seem like a little bit more like bread and butter type stuff. I heard someone say that one of the libraries was more like PCM sample based, so you're getting stuff that's going to be more like a K4 or a D50, and so maybe that's what's going on here. Ow. Morphos. Kind of like a wave sequencing type sound. But with that fucking annoying resonance. I hate the fact that even when you turn the resonance, the cutoff, the high harmonics all the way down, it's still harsh. What the fuck, bro? Like, you know? Yo, what's up, Shane? How's it going? Welcome to the stream. Teensy bit late, a little bit of lemon action. Nothing wrong with that. Gulliver. Yeah, these sound... I don't know if they're derived from PCM, but they are definitely more bread and butter. One of the problems is, and especially like when you consider the time and history of this thing coming out in 97, and these are like not as good Roland D50 sounds, right? That's not great. K-Files? Hotspot? You know. Floor saw? So this is a really kind of cool, like, sort of saxophone-y type sound, but it gives you that that additive synth character to it. And I think what it is that there's some noisiness to that sawtooth sound, but that noise is getting clipped off at 64 harmonics. Scotty. Oh, I remember this one. Kind of maybe a Star Trek nod. Really, really cool. Any thoughts on getting a kitten or too soon? So we have a blind cat, which you posted, Lemon, who I love very much. She is crazy. I just posted a video of her in the group. If you're a member of the channel, you'll have access to that video. I'm planning on posting a lot of members only content featuring the animals at the house, including some fish and Lemon, the blind cat. She's amazing. As far as getting other cats right now, Lemon doesn't really love other cats. She's blind, so she's not really sure. It takes her a long time to get used to people. It took her a long time to get used to me. So it's like, if she knows you, like, if you're cool, then, like, she's cool. She's amazing. She's a sweetheart. But if she's not sure, she's very hostile. So I don't know so much. Michael Mays, funny story. I read that Skinny Puppy used it, so I rushed out and got one. About a year later, 7 Key told me, nope, they never used one. I still love it, but no one uses it. Yeah, that sounds about right. There are unicords against the atrocities that filter resonance has done to human ears. Yeah, it's a thing. Peaceful? Well, that's what it says on the label. Really love this sound. I think I like this synth the warmer it sounds as it gets bright and terrible, but except for breathy. I have a soft spot in my heart for breathy. You fucked me. That's just like the fucking terrible K1 Oberheim pad sound. Ugh. Kind of like the wave station-y type stuff chamber. Not into anything that sounds like an organ. To me, these patches sound more like the K5 in the sense that they have that just sort of like typical additive synth sound. Kind of like a Crystal Rhodes patch. Couldn't get away without a Stratocaster sound. Not bad, though. Vector. Maybe a nod to the Prophet VS. Nylon. Maybe a resynthesized nylon pad. Bell Echo. It's additive, that's for sure. New Ghost. Well, I like this one. All right, so I'm going to jump all the way back to the beginning. There's just a couple of sounds I wanted you guys to hear before we called it a night. This would be a great time while I play the last patches I want to play. If you guys have any questions for me, it doesn't have to be just for this synth, anything about synthesizers, anything about my sex life you want to know, anything about my cat, fish, vegetable, mineral, whatever you guys are interested in, now's the time to ask before we close the stream out. Here is one I wanted you to hear, Eva Water. An organ sound I could actually get behind. Analog. Kind of like an interestingly additive brass sound. Vector. Another nod over there. Let's see, keep going here. Crawlers. I really like this sound because it reminds me of the, what was it, first Cell Dweller record, the clean guitar sound that had like a lot of warble on it from some sort of, I don't know, chorus pedal probably. It's just a really cool sound. Never heard that from a synthesizer before. Really, really love it. And I think there's only one more that I really had you guys need to hear. This is called Attack Strings, and it is very Blade Runner, very near and dear to my heart. So let's try that out. Still pissed about the Physmo. Talk to me about minerals. Let's see. I think you need a Mini Freak to demo on a Wednesday. Shane, I would love to have a Mini Freak, but I think my YouTube channel's too small to get one sent to me. And I'm not really that interested in buying modern synths. The Mini Freak is obviously going to be the market killer of 2023. Really amazing synth from Arturia. But just currently so deep down the vintage rabbit hole that I'm not currently buying modern synths. That could change though. Let's see what else anybody said. Glassy would be an apt description. Dubstation Zero, thank you for the 420 donation. I see you have a comment. It says be easy. I appreciate it, Dub. Thank you very much for your continued support. You are awesome. Appreciate that very much. I want a Physmo too. Yes. Have a rack full of event Laylas, but they have parallel jacks, 6 of them. Any parallel to USB? Any idea? I don't know what that means. Event Laylas? That's interesting. Any vintage wave synths beside the old Korg wave thingy? By wave synths, do you mean things that do stuff like the wave station? No. I don't really think they did the wave station well again. I believe the Kronos has a wave sequencing mode. Of course, there's wave state and wave state native. Those are modern. As far as anything before the wave station, they invented wave sequencing. So there's nothing before that that sounded like that. And then I feel like they forgot about wave sequencing after that and kind of went more in like the workstation, basically M1s that can do more things like the Trinity, all the way up to, you know, the Kronos today is basically anonymous with the $6.66 donation. Thank you very much. Whoever you are out there, thank you for being awesome. I really appreciate you. Prophet VS, yeah, that would be it. So if you don't know the little history about the Korg wave station, it's the first synth that Dave Smith created after he his business, Sequential Circuits, went out of business, and their last synth was the Prophet VS. So the Prophet VS waves are in the wave station, actually. A lot of people don't know that. And they sound very, very similar, except the Prophet VS has an analog filter. On the other hand, it doesn't have wave sequencing, which is really the coolest thing ever. So even like the PPG or microwave stuff, yes. So I thought you meant just Korg. So sorry about that, Shane. The SQ80 can do something like wave sequencing, as can the KAWAI K1. If by what you mean is wave stuff, like hybrid stuff, then yes, like a microwave by Waldorf is the easiest way to get that, you know, wavetable into analog filter sound. The problem with them is their rack mount, which for me, I like the charisma of big keyboards. And they are, you know, you probably need to get a stereoping programmer to really use it. Those hover at around $1,100, just the programmer, and then a microwave is usually about $2,000. So a little bit out of my price range. But obviously, if you want that PPG sound and nothing else will do, well, then that's the way to do it. Of course, Waldorf has a PPG, the VST emulation, which at least gets the wavetables right. And then their modern synths, like the Waldorf M, is a recreation of the microwave. Yeah, I think Dubstation's got a good one. The TS1012 editable. It's an editable, you know, sort of Insonics version of wave sequencing. What else? I'm gonna fall over. I really need to fuck around with the TSs. The Waldorf wave is very costly. Yeah, so I mean, I think a Waldorf wave, the last one I saw was like $30,000. None of us are going to get their hands on that, most likely. What else? Yeah, Group Synthesis's new PPG is really cool. I'm surprised that hasn't like been more of a stir. I don't know why. Maybe the PPG is just not as nostalgic. For me, I love hybrid synths. They're my favorite. Honestly, the KAWAI K3 is probably the best value hybrid synth you're going to get. But of course, that's like static wavetables, right? So it's not wave sequencing. It's just a one wavetable being, well, two. You've got two oscillators being fed into the filter. I can't remember if it's the K1 or the K3. I think the K3 you can morph wavetables using the aftertouch. Does the K3 have aftertouch? Let me go look real quick. It says on the front menu, so I can actually just kind of look. It's dark in here. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to see real quick. Yeah, it does have aftertouch. I think that's what I just read. Don't hold me to it. But I believe that's like something you can do is actually use oscillator mix, controlled by aftertouch. So like the harder you press, you get a different wavetable. So that's pretty cool. And those are, you know, I think I got mine for $350, which is pretty amazing. 20K or more. Yeah. The Waldorf M looks so cool. Oh, yeah, I mean, okay. Yeah, the Chaos pad on the Mod Wave, obviously awesome. Behringer, I believe, is working on PPG clone. Oh yeah, Summit is pretty underrated, like a modern day Oscar with wavetables. and a reverb to die for. Okay, so yeah, I mean, IMHO, if there was one modern hybrid synth that I would get, it would be the Novation Summit. Just the fact that Noisia did the wavetables for it. If you don't know, Noisia is like the god of that sort of Nero tech drum and bass, like sound design stuff. That alone sells me on it. It sounds really good. I think the to-do about the digital oscillators being somehow more analog sounding because they use the, what is it, the FPG chips? I forget what they're called. Something like that. I don't really know if that's true. To me, the oscillators sound a little dark, to be honest. But that's not bad. And, I mean, as far as, like, sound design, I mean, that synth is probably the most powerful when it comes to, like, again, if you're into the architecture of hybrid oscillators or digital oscillators into analog filters, the Summit's probably there for me in a way that the Super 6 sounds really good, but like that to me still sounds kind of like a Jupiter 6 that, you know, has the Super Saw oscillator from the JP8000. I mean, the binaural mode, whatever, but I don't know. I think the Summit really kind of has that thing that's unique. To me, the Summit makes me think, okay, it's almost Omnisphere, but with analog filters, something like that. Just my opinion. Let's see. Hydrasynth. Yep. I mean, of course, that does it too. Hydrasynth has wave stacking, which is essentially wave sequencing. There's so many cool synths out nowadays. I mean, that's kind of why I'm happy to be like not into modern synths, because I feel like I'd want a new synth every week. There's always new things out there. In January, I'll do a new video. I do one every January-ish. It sometimes takes me a little bit, discussing what I think about the modern synth market. So you guys can look forward to that. Yeah. No sequencer on it. Yeah, I didn't realize that, but that is a striking omission. But then again, I'm not a sequencer guy. That's why I have a Roland SH2 instead of an SH101. By the way, guys, next week, if you guys haven't seen yet, we're going to be doing a stream comparing the JP8000 with the Korg MS2000B, which of course just got enshrined as a synth in the Legacy collection because the Micro Korg synth engine is based off the MS2000B. So we'll be comparing a one-to-one, looking at the filters, looking at the oscillators, looking at the build quality, the knobs, everything about the two synths. And I have strong opinions on both. It'll be fun to really put them back to back. A lot of times when I do deep dives on synths, I really learn a lot because I realize I have like a bias going into a synth. And then when I actually am interacting with it for a few hours live, I kind of realize sometimes like what I think about the synths a little bit more. The Mirage stream changed my opinion about the Mirage. The JP8000 stream complicated my opinion about the JP8000, so definitely worth checking out. Yes, Jackie, it'll be the first time we have the MS2000B on the channel in I think at least a year, so that's going to be cool. Let's see here. Let's see. Moog 1, not happening. How many synths is enough? Yeah, it's one of those X plus 1 equals X. Is the Novation Summit like 2 peaks in a keyboard? Yeah, effectively, but it does have a few features that are missing in the peak. I'd have to read the manual to tell you what they are, though. I'm done buying hardware synths, but I might get an MC707. Not a bad thing. Did you decide which Rolands you were selling? Yes. The JP8000 is up on my Reverb right now. You could go buy it if you wanted, as well as the Roland U20. Those are definitely... We will see if the MS2000B gets put on the chopping block or not. I'm not convinced I'm going to keep it, so it might end up being sold. We shall see. You've got the blue-green one. Yeah, so that's the original version. I had to go black because I'm goth. But the blue one actually looks really good, too. I really like the look of it, and honestly kind of has a little bit more of that Metroid Prime look to it anyways, which I like. So anyways, guys, definitely come check out the stream next Wednesday at 9 as we do a shootout comparison of Korg and Roland's best virtual analog of the year 2000. It's going to be really fun to sort of compare these two legendary synths that are so famous on so many songs, right? And see what we think and see which one's worth keeping, what's going to sell. I've already decided I'm going to sell this one, might sell the MS-2000B, but I want to hear what the difference is and kind of put them back to back. It's been a stream I've been looking forward to doing for over a year, so it's going to be really good. You can't sell the 2000B until I have the extra cash to buy it. Okay. And yeah, I love you guys very much. Thank you so much for supporting me every Wednesday. You guys are incredible. I hope you guys like the content. I love getting a chance to check out really cool synths with you guys. And I'll see you next Wednesday at 9, okay? Love and light, bitches. Woohoo!